Just going in and let's okay, we are live.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. Okay, I was just making sure. Yay, hey everybody. We are back.
Hello.
Um, just making sure we're in all the groups. So, okay, go ahead. Yep. Yay. We're actually just talking Lenormand, talking questions, talking, the difference between someone who books a reading and someone who decides to do it really quick at the conventions.
Yeah, but maybe this is interesting for the people what we just were talking about. So maybe just yeah, let's talk about what you just said.
Oh, okay. Well, so I read cards not just everywhere, of course, but also, here, oh, I just got to switch over. I go to conferences and read cards, or events and read cards, or even corporate parties. I've done that before. And when people come to you, they have questions, of course, and they have things but it's like when they come to you, they start out small. They start out with little things and then eventually get to the point that they were getting at sessions down. But when
Mhm.
you have those quick 15 minutes readings and somebody sits down, you think, oh, it's just a quick thing. People are going to ask different questions, but they always ask the most serious, like questions, like the most, like, for example, one of the last few times I had someone come up because they were trying to sell their business that was about to just go under, that they tried this. And I mean, they literally took this and this and this and this and still no success. So what do you think? Or I had one time a woman was saying she was being abused by her husband, in like this quick session that like it needs you need more time. You know what I mean? Like not even for that, but like, do you need me to
Yeah,
call
yeah,
911? You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah.
and it's hard to sit there in a very public setting and then, because I always give them, I always go longer, of course, and always do a bigger spread than I normally would do. So it's like taking up more time, but it's like at the seriousness of these questions.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and maybe those are heavy questions, but that's what I was just saying before we got here. Yeah, maybe that's well often the best opportunity. So otherwise, if you have like a big problem, then there are a lot of obstacles. You have to call someone. Then you somehow have it in your head. Okay, I have to tell the story, and maybe I will be breaking down or something like that. But then there are the other
Yeah.
situations where you have like the opportunity. If you had it in your head for a long time that you really wanted to consult a cartomancer or whatever astrologer, and then all of a sudden someone is sitting there, and if I just step up, if I have the courage, I can ask it right away. It's maybe not the best suitable place in regards of time, but
Yeah.
maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe yeah, yeah. These are topics yeah, they're best, yeah, worked on with a lot of, yeah, right intention.
Yeah.
But yeah, often maybe it's also good if you can give or shed a light on things in just 15 minutes.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
always hard because, if somebody, like the way I think, if like you were saying, if somebody's coming up in that moment because like they finally have the courage, it's now or never. You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
talk yourself out of it. But
yeah.
when they move forward, though, like you said, they need that little bit of clarity. But moving forward, are they going to now ask for the help or just have that knowledge and not, do what they need to do, because
Yeah,
yeah.
that's difficult. But in the end, it always comes down to responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, yeah, I get that. And it's not, we just had an interview not thinking about the outcome after because it's not, everyone makes their own choices. They're where they're at because we make our own choices on where we're going to go. So our choices are always
Mhm.
what brought us to where we are, but also what's going to lead us out of it as well. But now having to make that choice.
Yeah, yeah. You rather give them a good reading in just 15 minutes, whilst they maybe would need 15 hours, than not a reading.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's true. It's just yeah, it's just interesting that like that's always the way of it. I was even at like uh a birthday party that they were doing. It was like airbending, the Avatar. It was fun. But yeah,
Mhm.
lots of serious questions on that too for the quick turnovers.
Yeah. But on the other hand, Margaret, I really believe in instinct, intuition for some kind of reason, although that's also something complex. But there's also your instinct, and I would always advise to listen to that says, okay, now go to that table and ask that question which you have would be wanting to ask for like years.
Yeah, yeah,
That's also something important, maybe how we can look at it. And in the end,
yeah,
I don't know. But it's
yeah,
also their responsibility. If they ask, yeah, then you can only give your answer in the best way possible.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah, that's true. Because at least it's that little bit of, hope. Because that's what the cards do. Either give you hope or validation, or, they give you something to leave with,
Yeah,
whether you follow it or not.
yeah. I think, yeah, clarity, but also, yeah, you can see it as alternative information, but it's always in the eye of the beholder.
hmm Yeah, definitely true. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But it's a really interesting subject. If you do this work, like if you're like a cartomancer or a psychologist or a therapist or a counselor or whatever, what I always say is, and here I come again, it always comes down to ethics, I think, but also on responsibility from whoever consults you.
Yeah. No, it's true. Exactly. And yeah, too, like having to take that effort, like you said, to make the appointment, to actually set something up instead of spur of the moment.
Yeah, yeah. And now you're saying something like that. Maybe it's good to think for such situations afterwards that you maybe give them your card that they somehow can
Oh,
get back in touch with you during the week or something like that.
hang on, I
That
just
you
gotta
don't
plug
have to
this.
let them go.
Yeah, I just have to plug this in real quick for some reason. Yeah, no, definitely that too, which I have cards and I always give cards out and if they buy something, they're automatically subscribed to emails. But again, it's if they take advantage of it or not. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
having so much technology issues today. Like everything hates me. So,
We will get through this. No worries.
yeah, because yeah, anyway.
I'm glad that you're on my level now.
Yeah, it's like, or like, it makes me think whenever that, like, this many things in one day turns on me technology wise, it's like we're entering the Terminator stage, you know? It's just gonna,
Do, do you at least acknowledge what suffering my life is?
yeah, no, of course, yes. Yes, because it's very frustrating. So I can definitely imagine for you how, like, it's just that's a part of your everyday and, like, why you haven't picked up your computer and smashed it yet. I will not know, you know?
That costs a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, I would smack it every day, I think.
Yeah, you know, it's true.
That,
It's true. Like that's
that's
the
why
adult.
that's why I need boxing classes.
Yeah, yes. Oh my gosh, yes, exactly. It's
Yeah.
funny too. Like doing that, like when you're younger, you definitely do those things, smash the mirror or whatever. And I was watching this one movie a long time ago, and where the woman was so angry she smashed the mirror on the floor, and all I could think of it's like, but then I have to clean it up after. You know what I mean? Like you have to clean up the mess as an adult after. That's why you can't do these things anymore.
Yeah, that's far away from efficiency.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So Morgan, were there any questions? Because we took a
Yes.
sidetrack. What questions feel the people that need to be answered?
Yes, and we have a couple like people in the we definitely okay, so now we have two questions because we have a question in the chat and a
Mhm.
question that was in one of the Lenormand challenge group. So we'll start with it's actually, it looks like it's from the same person, which is good. So I'll start with the first one in the Facebook group that came that, now I can't remember the question. And then there's a question in the chat. So we'll get to that too. I can't, hang on a second. Oh, all right. Hang on a second. I wrote it down and then I lost it. Um, Sorry, everybody. Let me just get this. Nope, that's not it. Here, this is it. Okay, so the question is on the coffin. Can the coffin allude to stunted development?
Hmm. Well, yeah, here we go again. I have to make this petit avant tout. So I find that you can give cards meanings whatever you want. I don't want to be dogmatic, but according to me, for whatever that's worth, it's hard to give a card two meanings. So so you said what is stunted development?
That's
So
that. Yeah, that was just the question. But if it's like someone who's never, or is just learning Lenormand, so they're, because they are
yeah.
just learning Lenormand, never, have used the cards before, and from your books and stuff, always the core meaning too. But how would you say
Mhm.
that for someone like completely new, to
Yeah.
Lenormand?
I would not advise for that since you have to see it's like a language. At least if you take it the real traditional route, then you have like a card is only one singular meaning and it's described by other cards. So if you wanted to read stunted development for, and you know then you at least should have two cards. One that represents development and another card that's in that regard alludes to stunted. So
Hmm.
in that regard, you would need two cards, and then now you can reason for yourself. Yeah, is that somehow a valid extension of the core meanings?
Hmm.
And I don't really think so,
Yeah.
without being dogmatic.
Yeah.
But it's also the way how you look at things, because I don't think that there is a necessity to be able to name everything. Like stunted development. These are somehow, yeah, uh, synonymous or a synonym, how you call it, the same as for instance, cards rather have this language. Okay, there is no good growth, or growth is somehow um, say it constrained or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's more like that you have like a contextual understanding of it. And in my experience, you should keep that simple. But there
Hmm.
are always like two ways how cards can convey a message. That's the way how I see it. Or they somehow give them a message without context. Or you give a context and you take that context within your question, and then all the cards answer about that.
Yeah.
The best example for that is if you throw some cards on the table and just keep it open. Okay, tell me something that's important. The tree
Yeah.
falls out. Then you could reason, okay, this is something, yeah, talking about health. And then whatever cards are around that, um, talk about health. But if you
Yes.
somehow say, okay, I want an answer in the field of your love life, and the tree
Yeah.
falls, it could allude to something to do with health in regards of your love life, but it
Yeah.
could also point out something unhealthy in regards of your relationship.
Yes.
You see, but if you are really aiming to search concepts like stunted development and all that, I think that you really overcomplicate it. Because of course you should be able to read about stunted development, but often this narrative somehow erupts from a very basic language or and in correspondence with your sitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in some kind of way far-fetched to want to read stunted development in that regard. Or you should do it in the context of the question, or in the context of the answer in general.
Yeah.
But then you have to reason, yeah. So stunted development, yeah. Stunted. This is also the case. Maybe if you have something that is like small growing, best alluding to what I understand what stunted is maybe like the tree, because the tree is like slow growing. Or you could also see it in another way that the cross does something constraining towards the cards in front of you. So it hinders somehow progression or development. You see,
Oh,
so it's
yeah.
not like a unified codex,
Yeah.
but I would really advise you to keep it as simple as possible, that you,
Hmm.
as good as possible, could read it. Okay, this is good, not so good, or bad. And that the context of your question somehow sharpens the answer. In the
Yeah.
end, that's what I find. It's all about the questions. That you aim the question in such a way, also that you somehow, with your student or with yourself, ask, okay, what is now the best question which suits the system best, that I can make the least possible errors. And then
Yeah.
in the end, it's like fortune telling is like, do I have fortune or misfortune? I oversimplify things. I know that. So, but if you wanted to read stunted development, that's something complex.
Hmm. Yeah.
And a question, okay, what stunted development in regards uh, of your career, something like that. So
Yeah.
this I could somehow put in the question, okay, and how will my career develop the next 3 months? Yeah, and then
Yeah.
if you have like a lot of bad cards, because then you can somehow, out of the context, come to that conclusion of this is a stunted development. But if you have like good cards, it's never stunted. It's like the way
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah.
So I hope
Yes.
that I somehow answered your question, even though I'm explaining it, I'm not really content about my explanation. So whenever I find a better explanation, we come back to that. But I hope I somehow could
No, but
shed a light
I
on this.
no, I like that, especially too because no, I like that because like the coffin's always about death, about
Mhm,
endings, about
mhm,
loss, illness.
mhm.
So I wouldn't see that, and I loved how you used the cards like the tree and the cross because I could definitely see that because the tree is a burden. It's something that's not going to let you continue. It's going to be
Yeah,
something that like you carry with you. So say like stunted development in the form of like learning, like a learning disability, like if you're having trouble learning, you know what I mean? The cross is that burden, especially next to like trying to think of a good card next to it for that, like a book. Well, I'm not sure if I'm, that's what I'm saying. Like now I'm like, we're gonna pull my cards out. I gotta like, see them
yeah,
next to each
yeah,
other. But I'm trying to see that. But yeah, because it just depends on what life area you're talking about and what's the exact question
yeah.
always.
Voila,
Because,
voila, voila.
yeah, because,
And the best card, if you somehow, there is no uh, card that stands for development very clearly. So that's a
yeah,
derivation of a derivation of a derivation. And the first card that comes into mind that somehow can reflect that is like the high tower,
yes, the tower,
because that
yes,
is like the longevity,
yes,
contextual use, and then this high tower has to be constrained either by the cross or by the tree, and that is as good as possible to somehow, I think, express stunted development. But
yes,
in the end, that's really far-fetched, because yeah, you also have to understand, you have to really come up with that. So if we put those cards on the table, and we could express the same with different other cards. But in regards to development, the first thing that comes to mind, what I would use for that, is the high tower.
hmm,
But if you put those cards on the table and you ask for like 100 people, how many people would say this is stunted development? I
yeah,
think
yeah,
not much, but maybe this is the talent that you have to somehow kindle and really put those cards in front of you and think as much as possible meanings as a logical derivation of the core concept.
Hmm.
And then if you switch context, what is this in regards of your love life, or what is this in regards of your career? So if this would be the case in your love life, and you have like Tower and Cross, then you could say, okay, that does not have the quick evolution that I want. So maybe he does not want to live with me yet, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I like that. So yeah, and that's how I always, yeah, see Lenormand is. It's all about the question. That's why you ask
Yeah,
one question. I know people like to, you always start with what's my day going to show and what's ahead, but my success with Lenormand's always been a very as specific as possible question, one question per spread, because you get so
yeah,
much more. Exactly that stunted development would come in then.
yeah. And you touched on something very smart there, Morgan. I find is I think you rather take your time for the best possible questions than trying to find out what possibly the cards could convey to you without that question, because then you have like enormous amount of possibilities. Whilst you can
Yes.
narrow it down with the right question, and then it comes down to really ask, okay, um, what is the outlook for the, yeah, how quick will this evolution be?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
know right away, whatever negative card that is goes against that what you want. Because I
Hmm.
assume if you want something fast, that this is in your question. You should also have what you want in your question, so that negative cards can very simply say, okay, it's not going to happen, or at least there's a restriction on the outcome.
Yeah.
And then you just have to see how the your fortune or misfortune maps out. At least that's
Yes.
how I see it. It's simplifying the complexity. And
Hmm.
then it's still difficult. But then you have like least possible chances to go astray.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So
yes.
I hope that this somehow um, answered your question. If that's not the case, please reach out again, and I will think of a better way to explain this. Because it's
Yeah.
some, yeah, I have to come up with it out of the blue. So thank you very much to make my brains work. But
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
have time to think about that, I can come with a better answer, I think.
Yeah. Well, this is from our Lenormand challenge, challenge group. So
Hmm.
so we're, going over core meanings, of course, you know,
Yeah,
and how you
but
see
always
the
keep in
cards.
mind, so all these cards, they have like one meaning at a time. So a
Yes.
house, it's not a small house. A house is a house, and the card next to it, the child would make it a small house.
Yeah.
You see, so
Yes.
then it's not the language where something consists about two concepts at the same time.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It's all about that. Yeah. And that's
So
why I like,
stunted
yeah.
development can never be one card. So Coffin cannot say stunted development.
Hmm.
They
But
could,
yeah.
if at all, if you would attach that to the coffin at all, it can, it will either be stunted or development. But I
Hmm.
think that other cards are better suitable than the coffin to express that. But it's
Yes.
like concept thinking.
Yeah. Oh, so much so. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what makes it, because most people, when they come to Lenormand, they already have tarot so ingrained in their mind. So it's making that leap from the pictures of the cards, what the cards are telling you, to the actual just simple as possible. Whoops, concept. Sorry. See, I'm having trouble with everything today.
It's not,
And
it's not your day.
no, and that's why I kept checking the cords because this one was on me. My phone was, it's plugged in, but it's not charging. So I'm like, yeah, it wasn't even plugged into anything. Like it's just,
I have some good advice for you. You take some pillows, take some
yeah.
plastic,
Oh,
and stay where you are.
Yeah, and not do anything. I know. Oh my goodness. It is one of those days.
Yeah,
Uh,
next question. Come on.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
get
Dex. Well, yeah, and if because I was not sure if the person was in the group or not, but if you do like have, yeah, anyone else who has questions, please post them, and I'm ch keeping track of, on here
yeah,
too.
and if I was not clear, please reach out again because I feel that that's my obligation to make a better explanation. I'm not really contented with it. Uh, but it's also, yeah, it's good that you ask. I could not prepare this, but I like this. So,
Yeah, no, and it's good. Yeah, like I said, very good questions.
yeah, good
And
questions. Thank
yeah,
you.
and the other question that well, somebody had did say at times readings may not tell you the best way, but help you see it in a different and often better light, which is very true.
Mhm.
And then I was going to say, then somebody had a question just on the practice deck in general. Is it better just to use that practice deck that you make for your book or the just deck of cards? I know I've got a ton, but I like my practice deck. I did it off a Norway deck of cards, so Norway energy, Viking.
You know, I wrote that for the big advantage to somehow make use of a linguistic system.
Hmm.
And the other byproduct of that is that you somehow, if you keep that as your practice deck, maybe you should do both. But if you really are like practicing making a narrative very playful, throw some cards about, then also in your subconscious mind you learn, or at least that was my aim, to learn how to work with the inserts as well. Because for some kind of reason you have like those core values and you attach them to the inserts. Yeah, that's also why I wrote that, because the inserts in the end, I find, for whatever that word, is the framework of the petit plan. And that's your first glance and your first impression.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was always like, someone wanted to get people into the reading for some kind of reason. And they don't have to understand the cards, but if I say, okay, but all the club cards in this deck, they are not so friendly cards, and look, you are dealt within those cards. Yeah, for me that was very inviting to the cinema to somehow uh, get with me in their life that is mapped out between us.
Hmm.
So, and you can do without that. But that was my way of reading, and and in my next work, that will be even much more on the forefront,
Yes.
to make more impact, to invite your sister in the story between you. But yeah, you can do without that. There are really great Petit Lenormand readers who don't care about the inserts and all that. And it's not that I really read inserts as a separate thing, but I really make use of that. They really are part of my structure in my head, and my books or my head on paper
Yeah,
for
yeah.
whatever that's worth.
No, yeah, I loved like the practice decks. Like I said, I learned Lenormand, but because when you go to some other like I went to this other school, but they had like I swear like 30 different core meanings for the one meaning and it got confusing. But that's why I loved your books to learn because it was precise. It was just what it is. It kept it simple that you learned it in a way that made sense and that you can have really great fortune telling predictions, even clarity with it, versus other systems. So that's
Yeah,
why I really
this
liked it.
is this is always my idea, and also in sports and all that. Make sure that you're an expert in the basics.
Hmm. Yes. Yeah. No, I like that because I've seen that where like you think you have to be getting more, you have to be saying more out of it than just this is what it means, like a ring and a letter, marriage contract, that's simple.
Yeah, and doing this very playful. Whenever I started to read cards and I wanted to practice, in my head, I really assumed that someone was sitting for me, and I gave them a profile. I wasn't
Ah,
imagining this is like a lady of 75 years. For some strange kind of reason, I did that. And
yeah.
then I imagined a context, I imagined questions, but the strangest questions.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that this sounds stupid, but this really worked for me.
hmm Yeah. No, I like that. To get the practice in as well without
Yeah,
actually having to like give an answer to someone who's expecting it. It's like frees that up, imagination up a little bit.
yeah, and in the end, it's like storytelling.
hmm
If you're like able to throw one card on the table and you start talking, okay, there is a house. Okay, then you throw a snake. Okay, the snake, what is the snake to do with this house? Which message could this actually mean, maybe? And what are the options? So,
hmm
yeah. And then you go further, you make like a whole story.
hmm
So,
Yeah.
and I think you have to realize that in order that the gods, I was always thinking, okay, if they had a life on their own, how would I serve them best? How could I adjust to my cause in order that they could convey in the best way possible their message?
Yeah.
So, and then I have to, yeah, set things up in a way that they can talk to me very blunt, very easy, without
hmm
me overcomplicating things. But
Yeah.
again, that is just my
Yeah.
vision on things for whatever that's worth. But this is how it works for me, and that is also like in my work. And my I don't want my work to be all end all, but it's I could not have said it better as I did it back then in my.
Yeah. Oh
And
no,
but
definitely.
nowadays, the future courses that we will provide will be explained much more better and dive much deeper in and making impact and giving tangible tips on how to convey a message or how to yeah do it better, quicker, more efficient, and all that.
Yeah. And I'm excited for this. I like that because it is, you know, it's a very old system, but I like the Lenormand the best to read with. And because you
Yeah.
got, the books though from those original core meetings from like what 1716. I mean,
Mhm.
now I can't remember the date. Somewhere in there. Well, and that's the thing too. Like I was making sure there's no questions. Excited for too about the coming back into like we've talked about in previous, podcasts and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Coming back into it and exactly how it is perfected now. How it is, taking it
yeah.
that next step further.
Yeah, I think the difference there, I think a lot of reading tactics and a lot of, it's also a matter of taste and a lot of things work. But where I stand, I think, and where I will really somehow, yeah, lay even more pressure on is um, the respect of the core language of the oracle. I see it as an oracle.
hmm Yeah.
And I must give this oracle a chance to give its or her message in a way. It's not that the cards have to adjust to me. I want to adjust to the cards.
Yeah. Yes.
But that's a stance I take, and that's something philosophical forever. What that's, but that's my work, uh,
Yeah.
and therefore I also wanted to teach really traditional cartomancy, and from that era. If you know the Petit Letea, for instance, it's like a real linguistical system. You read word A, word B, and you somehow connect it.
hmm
Like small snippets of a sentence or snippets of a concept, and it's up to you to untangle the message.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think. I think.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I love
Yeah.
that and the simplicity of things. because it gives you more
Yeah,
of a clear answer, basics.
it's
Oh, sorry.
already very, very complicating thing. So whatever complexity that we can ramp it down is for the better.
Yes. Just making sure there's no questions. Um, yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely like that. And I had a thought now and I can't remember it, which is usually rare because I always remember what I'm going to say. That's why I like hold on to it until like the end. But
Morgan, it's not your day. You should.
no, it really has not been. But it was something. Well, were you saying the cards? You sing the cards. Well, I don't remember exactly what I was going to say, but that's how I started. Like when I first started just doing the more playful side of the cards, is like asking the questions I already knew the answer to, and then seeing them in the cards. Like, what happened to Anne Boleyn? Obviously, she got her head cut off. So then if you lay the cards, though, how do you see that? Like, what cards actually say that? You know what I mean? That because especially if you only do like the 9 card spread or just like 4 cards, or I'm sorry, not 4, 5 cards, thinking different
Mhm.
systems. Like, how would you see exactly that in the 5 cards if there's no scythe or there's no coffin or there's no, however that is?
Yeah, yeah. That will also be like a part of my new material. How you can train your neurology best and better. I will even provide things to remember meanings better and all that. So
Yes.
yeah, I
Yes.
I became so much smarter. Maybe not a better cartomancer, but smarter in context, smarter in how make things more efficient and all that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you will find that out. So I hope I
Yes.
answered all the questions. So
Well,
then,
yeah. I was just looking real quick just to make sure because, um, yeah. And of course, like I said, we always have our community groups and all of that stuff too for questions. Yeah, we answer there. But I like it live though because it's more interactive. You know what I mean? You get the message out better. Anybody, this is for anybody, than actually just reading it instead of 'cause sometimes you
yeah,
might
yeah,
just kind of scan or skip through things and actually
I
putting it
like
out there
this.
into the world. Yeah.
I like this. So come back, please, on Tuesday. Yeah, on Sundays. So we will be live.
Yeah, and ask all if you have more questions or like I said in the community. Actually, so this Tuesday we have Maria Alves Hernando who's going to be with us live, who does the tarot tableau, who creates the entire, she has that book Tarot. Well, but for everyone listening, we do have a podcast interview with her, but kind of diving deeper into her book, like if there's live questions for that too. So, but she also
Yeah,
is Lenormand, so we will take all that questions as well, you know,
yeah.
those
And
things.
you can also ask her maybe. Yeah. So we have all
D-
those interesting people, all those voices in the Petit Lenormand. What I say is not be all end all. Make up your own mind, but ask questions. Asking questions is really a sign of intelligence. So really make
yeah,
use of that. But also ask those other great people, Rena Jaws, all those Donnelly de la Rose, all those people who we have here, they are really like the experts in this
no,
matter.
yeah, but no, definitely on that. But like I said, we're always, here for that. And with the courses coming up and stuff like that, and plus our challenges,
Yeah.
we'll always
So
have all that information.
make sure if that's not the case yet that you follow us,
Yeah,
like,
on
share.
screen.
There are a lot of actions coming up in regards. Maybe there are. Yes, just follow us. We have a lot of surprises coming.
Yeah, yeah. We still have the like Lenormand Leap of Light, which was the hypnotherapy up as well to like really ground it into your thoughts. I probably just
So
butchered that, but like I said, not my day.
yeah, let's finish it now. Still, the house isn't burning. We see
Yeah,
you on Tuesday.
yeah, okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. See you in the groups. Bye.
Bye.